His ship, the SS Concordia 7, had been a diplomatic vessel, small, unarmed, and built for peace talks, not for surviving the violent storms of Varelia. One moment he was speaking with the pilot about landing protocols. The next, a massive bolt of plasma lightning struck the hull. Everything went dark. When he woke up, it was raining. Not soft earth rain, but thick, heavy drops that stung his skin like needles. Thunder rolled above like war drums. Lightning lit. The sky in flashes of violet and green. Trees bent and groaned under the wind, their trunks twisted like ropes. Holt sat up slowly, pain pulsing through his ribs. His uniform was torn, his visor cracked. He looked around. The wreckage of the ship was scattered behind him, half buried in mud. Smoke rose into the storm-dark sky. He was alone. Every other crew member must have died on impact, or worse, still, trapped inside the broken hull. Holt checked himself for injuries. Nothing broken, just bruised and burned in places. He grabbed what gear he could, a med kit, a water purifier, and a small sidearm. Then he started walking. The forest around him was alien. Thick vines hung from trees with glowing leaves. Strange birds cried out in the distance. The air smelled sharp, electric. Every few minutes, another flash of lightning would strike nearby, shaking the ground. He knew the basics. Find shelter, stay warm, avoid danger. But this world made survival look easy. Hours passed. His legs ached. His body screamed for rest. Just as he thought he couldn't go on, he saw lights through the trees. Faint, flickering, but real. A village. It wasn't much. Wooden homes built into the hills, surrounded by high stone walls. People moved between them, tall and strong, wrapped in thick cloaks. They carried weapons even while working. Survival here wasn't optional, it was law. Holt stumbled forward, raising his hands in peace. They saw him. Raised their weapons. He dropped his gun. One of the guards stepped forward. A woman, tall with silver eyes and deep scars across her face. She studied him like he was some kind of beast. "You are not welcome," she said in rough Terran English. "I don't mean harm," Holt said, voice hoarse. "Crash and I'm alone." She narrowed her eyes. "Why should we not kill you now?" Holt didn't flinch. "Because I came in peace, and because your world needs friends more than enemies." That earned a pause. After a long silence, the woman gave a short nod. "Come." They took him inside. The village was quiet, but everyone watched. Children hid behind their mothers. Old men whispered. No one smiled. He was led to a large hut at the top of the hill. Inside, an older woman lay on a bed of furs. Her breathing was shallow. Sweat covered her brow. The silver-eyed woman turned to Holt. "She is dying," she said. "You saved lives before?" Holt nodded. "I've trained in field medicine." "Then, do it." He stepped forward. The old woman's wound was bad, an infection from a hunting spear gone septic. With care, he cleaned the wound using his med kit, injected antibiotics, and wrapped it tightly. The woman stirred, her eyes opened. The room filled with murmurs. The silver-eyed woman stared at Holt like she was seeing him for the first time. "My mother lives," she said. "Because of you." Holt shrugged. "I just did what I could." The woman stood tall. "You are no longer a stranger." "What's your name?" Holt asked. "I am Syra," she said, "matriarch of this clan." There was something in her voice, deep respect, ancient pride. She looked at him like he had changed the course of history, and maybe he had. Outside, the storm raged on. Inside, something new had begun. Syra stepped closer. "You saved my mother's life." "Yes, that is a great debt. I didn't save her for a reward. But among our people," she said, "a life saved demands a life given." Holt frowned. "What does that mean?" Syra looked at him with steady eyes. "It means," she said, "you will marry my daughters." Silence filled the room. Holt blinked. Excuse me? You heard me, Commander. He tried to speak, but no words came. 3 girls stood in the shadows, watching. Each beautiful, each strong. This wasn't a joke. This was tradition. And Holt had just walked right into it. Commander Derek Holt stared at Matriarch Syra, his mind struggling to catch up with what he had just heard. You want me to marry your daughters? He asked slowly. Syra nodded once. Yes. There was no smile, no teasing tone, just a simple statement of fact. Holt looked at the 3 girls standing in the shadows. They were watching him closely, each with her own expression, curiosity, suspicion, and something else he couldn't name. I think there's been a misunderstanding, he said carefully. I didn't save your mother's life so I could get married. Syra crossed her arms. Then why did you do it? To help someone, Holt replied. That's what we do. We help each other when we can. A murmur passed through the room. Some of the elders exchanged glances. That is not how it works here, Syra said. To save a matriarch's life is the greatest honor one can give, and the greatest debt one can owe. Holt took a breath. I understand that this is important to you, but marriage isn't something we just offer like a thank you gift. It is not a gift, Syra said. It is a bond, a promise, a future. One of the daughters stepped forward. She was tall, with sharp eyes and long braids wrapped in metal beads. I am Kira, she said, eldest daughter of Syra, warrior of Virelia. She studied Holt like he was a puzzle she hadn't decided whether to solve. If you refuse this bond, she said, you insult my mother, you insult us. Holt raised his hands. I don't mean any disrespect. I'm just trying to explain how things work on Earth. We don't make these kinds of offers after saving someone's life. Kira's eyes narrowed. Then how do you show gratitude? We say thank you, Holt said. We shake hands. We remember the kindness. Another daughter stepped forward. This one was younger, softer in face but strong in stance. I am Nare, she said. Diplomat and speaker of many tongues. She tilted her head. You mean to say, your people do not repay great deeds with great bonds? No, Holt admitted. Sometimes they do, but not always, not like this. Nare looked thoughtful. Your world sounds strange. The 3rd daughter finally spoke. Her voice was quiet but firm. I am Laura, she said. I study life, plants, animals, people. She looked at Holt with open curiosity. Why did you really save my grandmother? He met her gaze. Because I couldn't let her die. Laura smiled slightly. That's a good answer. Syra watched all of this in silence. Then she turned back to Holt. You will stay, she said. You will learn our ways. You will see if your heart finds its place among us. Holt opened his mouth to argue, but stopped himself. He was stuck on this storm-racked planet. His ship was destroyed. There was no rescue coming soon. He needed time to fix his equipment, contact the Conquered, and plan an escape. Maybe staying wasn't such a bad idea. Fine, he said. I'll stay. For now. But I'm not agreeing to anything. Syra gave a slow nod. Time will speak for itself. Over the next few days, Holt was given a small hut to sleep in and food to eat. He helped where he could, fixing broken tools, treating wounds, teaching basic survival techniques from Earth. The villagers began to warm to him. Children followed him around. Hunters asked about Terran weapons. Elders listened to his stories. But, still, the tension remained. Everywhere he went, Kira, Nari, and Laura watched him, each with different eyes, different questions. Kira challenged him in training. She wanted to know if he was strong enough to stand beside them. Nari tested his mind. She debated with him late into the night, asking about Earth's politics, laws, and dreams. And Laura, she simply watched, listened, smiled. She asked the hardest question of all. Do you even care about us? She asked one evening, as they sat near a fire. Holt thought about it. Yes, he said. I do. Laura tilted her head. Then maybe you're already choosing. He frowned. Choosing what? She smiled again. Who you belong to. The word stayed with him long after the fire died. Later that night, Holt stood outside looking up at the stormy sky. He was a soldier, a diplomat, a man used to fighting battles and solving problems. But this was something new. This wasn't a war. It was a choice. And he wasn't sure yet what kind of man he would be when it was over. In the days that followed, Commander Derek Holt found himself drawn deeper into the life of the Verelian village. He was not a prisoner. Not exactly. But he was also not free. Everywhere he went, one of Syra's daughters was nearby, watching, talking, testing him in quiet ways. Kira tested his strength. She challenged him to sparring matches under the storm-lit sky. At first, she fought with clear disdain, treating him like a soft outsider unfit for battle. But Holt held his ground, blocking her strikes, dodging her attacks, never striking back unless forced. One evening, after another long match, Kira wiped sweat from her brow and finally spoke. "You fight like you don't want to hurt me." "I don't," Holt said, breathing hard. "You're not my enemy." Kira studied him. Most men would have tried to prove something by now. Holt shrugged. "I already know what I can do. I'm more interested in what you can teach me." That earned a rare smile from the warrior. Nare tested his mind. She sat with him by the fire, asking questions about Earth, its laws, its wars, its peace. She wanted to understand how humans ruled themselves without a single leader, how they made decisions when no one voice ruled all. "You trust your people too much," she said once. "They will fail you." "Maybe," Holt admitted. "But we keep trying. That's what makes us strong." Nare didn't argue. Instead, she asked more questions. And Holt answered every one. Laura, however, tested his heart. She walked beside him as he repaired a broken water pump near the village edge. She didn't ask deep questions or challenge his beliefs. She simply watched, listened, and smiled at the small things. "You fix things," she said one afternoon. "Even when they're not yours." Holt wiped his hands on his pants. "Someone has to." Laura tilted her head. "Why you?" He looked at her. "Because if I don't, who will?" She thought about it. Then she nodded, like he had passed some kind of test. Later that night, while sitting under the stars, Laura asked another question. "Do you miss home?" Holt looked up. The sky above was dark, filled with swirling clouds and distant lightning. "Yes," he said quietly. "I do." Laura sat beside him. "Then why stay here? You could try to leave." "I could," he admitted, "but I don't think I should." She smiled softly. "Maybe you're starting to care." Holt didn't answer right away. Maybe she was right. Word of Holt's presence spread beyond the village. Other clans sent scouts. Some came in peace. Others came with suspicion. A group of warriors arrived one morning, led by a tall man named Rokan, clan leader of the northern tribes. He stood before Syra and Holt, eyes sharp. "This human walks among us like he belongs," Rokan said, "but he is not one of us." Syra crossed her arms. "He saved my mother's life. That gives him honor." Rokan scoffed. "Or weakness. You offer your daughters to an outsider. What message does that send?" "It sends a message of strength," Syra replied. "That we do not fear change. That we do not fear the unknown." Rokan turned to Holt. "You are not Verelian. You do not understand our ways. Why should we allow this bond to form?" Holt met his gaze. "Because I don't need to be Verelian to see that your people are strong, proud, brave. I respect what you've built here." Rokan narrowed his eyes. "And yet you take what is ours." "No," Holt said firmly. "I was given nothing, only offered a choice." "And what choice have you made?" Rokan asked. Holt looked at Kira, Nare, and Laura. Each stood tall, each watching him. "I haven't made it yet," he said honestly. Rokan gave a short laugh. "Then make it soon, human, or others will decide for you." With that, he and his warriors left. Silence settled over the village. Then Sira spoke. "You must choose," she said. "Not just for yourself, but for us." Holt frowned. "It's not that simple." "It is," Sira said. "You have lived among us. You have seen our strength, our struggle. If you walk away now, it will be seen as rejection, not just of us, but of our way of life." Holt ran a hand through his hair. "I didn't come here looking for a wife. Or 3. Sira smiled slightly. "Fate rarely asks permission." That night, Holt stood alone on a hill overlooking the village. Below, the fires burned low. People slept. The storm had passed, leaving only silence behind. He thought about everything that had happened since the crash. He thought about Earth, about the conquered, about the mission he had failed, and then he thought about Kira's strength, Nare's wisdom, and Laura's quiet kindness. 3 women, 3 choices, 3 futures. He wasn't ready yet. But maybe he was getting closer. The storm had passed, but trouble was brewing. Word of Holt's presence and Sira's offer had spread beyond the village. The High Council of Virelia, a powerful group of leaders from the major clans, had taken notice. They did not approve. To them, offering daughters to an outsider was more than tradition. It was a threat to their way of life. They feared that if this act was allowed to stand, it would weaken the old ways and open the door to foreign influence. And so, they sent a message. Commander Derek Holt must appear before the council for judgment. When Sira read the order, her face darkened. "They fear change," she said quietly. Holt frowned. "Or they think I'm trying to take something." Sira looked at him. "You understand our people better than most." She turned to her daughters. "This is no simple visit," she warned. "This will be a trial." Kira stepped forward. "Then we go with him." "No," Sira said firmly. "This must be his fight." "But he's not one of us," Nare pointed out. "They'll see him as weak." "Then he must prove them." "Wrong," Sira said. Laura looked at Holt with worry in her eyes. "Will you be safe?" He gave her a small smile. "I always find a way." The journey to the capital took 3 days. The city of Tharvon rose from the cliffs like a fortress carved from stone and fire. Towering walls protected it from the storms, and massive gates opened only for those deemed worthy. Holt entered, on foot, dressed plainly, escorted by 2 council guards. He was not a prisoner yet, but the weight of judgment pressed down on him like a heavy sky before a storm. At the heart of the city stood the Hall of Flames, where the High Council gathered. It was a circular room built around a central fire pit, where decisions were made not just with words but with strength, wisdom, and spirit. 7 elders sat in a ring around the fire, each one older than the last, each one watching Holt like a predator studies prey. A tall man with deep scars and cold eyes spoke first. "I am Ralek, voice of the council," he said. "You stand before us, outsider. Speak your purpose." Holt stepped forward. "I came to Virelia as a diplomat," he said. "Not as a conqueror, not as a thief. I saved matriarch Sira's mother because it was the right thing to do." Ralek narrowed his eyes. "And yet you now claim bond with her bloodline." "I never claimed anything," Holt replied. "It was offered, not by me but by her." Murmurs filled the hall. Ralek raised a hand. Silence followed. "You are not Virelian," he said. "You do not know our ways. You do not understand what it means to carry our name." Holt met his gaze without flinching. "I may not have been born here," he admitted. "But I've lived among your people. I've fought beside them. I've bled for them." He looked around the circle. "And I've learned that strength isn't just in battle. It's in choice, in trust, in respect." Ralek leaned forward. "You speak boldly for a man who stands alone." "I'm not alone," Holt said simply. "Your people chose to listen. That means more than any title." One of the elders, a woman named Taylor, studied him carefully. "What do you want from us?" she asked. Holt smiled slightly. Nothing. I don't want power. I don't want land. I don't want control. He paused. I want to understand, and I want to help, if I can. Silence stretched between them. Then Raleigh stood. There is only one way to decide if you are worthy, he said. You will face the trial of the three flames. Gasps echoed through the hall. That trial had not been used in centuries. It was once reserved only for warriors seeking to join noble houses. To give it to an outsider? It was unheard of. Holt didn't hesitate. I accept. Back in the village, Kira, Nare, and Laura waited. When word arrived that Holt had agreed to the trial, they knew the real test was about to begin. He doesn't even know what he's walking into, Kira muttered. Nare crossed her arms. He doesn't need to. He knows who he is. Laura looked toward the horizon. He'll come back, she said softly. Because he fights for something real. Syra placed a hand on her youngest daughter's shoulder. Yes, she said. He does. Over the next few days, preparations began. The trial of the three flames was not just a test of strength. It was a test of body, mind, and heart. Each flame represented a part of the soul. Fire for strength, mind for wisdom, heart for truth. And Holt would face each one, not for power, but for honor, and maybe for love. A large circle was made in the village square lined with stones and filled with dry wood. Above it, 3 torches burned, one red, one blue, and one white. The elders stood around the ring watching silently. Warriors, villagers, even children gathered to witness what had not happened in generations. A foreigner being tested for honor among the Virelians. Commander Derek Holt stood in the center barefoot, wearing only a simple tunic and trousers. He had been told the rules clearly. 3 flames, 3 tests, 3 daughters. To prove himself worthy, he would face each daughter, not as a suitor, but as a challenger. Each test was designed to reveal a part of his soul. He took a deep breath. Matriarch. Syra stepped forward. This is the trial of the 3 flames, she said, her voice strong and clear. Each flame will test your body, your mind, and your heart. If you fail any, you must leave this land forever. Holt nodded. I understand. Syra raised her hand. The first flame begins now. The flame of fire. Kira stepped into the ring, dressed in battle gear, her fists wrapped in leather. Her eyes were sharp, full of fire. This is the test of strength, Syra declared. No weapons, only skill. Holt looked at Kira. She was a warrior, strong, fast, trained from birth. He knew he couldn't beat her in brute force alone. The signal came. Kira charged. She struck fast, aiming for his ribs. Holt barely blocked in time, the impact sending pain through his arms. He ducked under another punch, then rolled away as she swept her leg low. She was testing him, pushing him. Again and again they clashed. But Holt didn't fight back. He dodged, blocked, avoided every strike that could hurt her. Kira frowned. Fight me. No, Holt said, breathing hard. I won't hurt you. That made Kira angrier. She came at him harder. Then, suddenly, Holt caught both her wrists mid-strike. Not to hurt her, but to stop her. I know what you're doing, he said. You want to see if I'll hurt you if I'm like other men. Kira struggled. And are you? Holt looked her straight in the eyes. No, he said. I fight to protect, not to conquer. Silence fell over the crowd. Kira stared at him for a long moment. Then she pulled free. She stepped back. She yields, Syra announced. The crowd murmured. Kira had never yielded before. She gave Holt a small nod, a sign of respect. You fight like no man I've known, she said. Maybe you are not like the others. The flame of mind next came Nare. This time the challenge was not in combat but in debate. Seated on stone chairs, Holt and Nare faced the elders' council. They asked questions about leadership, duty, war, peace. Holt answered them all, but Nare was the true test. You say humans value freedom, she said, yet your people still fall into war. Yes, Holt admitted. We do, but we also try to learn from it. Nare leaned forward. Then how can you trust each other? If your kind fails so often, why believe in peace? Holt smiled slightly. Because we keep trying, even when it's hard. That's what makes us human. Nare studied him, then she turned to the elders. He speaks with honesty, she said, and wisdom. The elders nodded. The second flame is past, Syra announced. More murmurs spread through the crowd. 2 trials done. 1 left. The flame of Heart Laura stepped into the ring. There was no weapon, no book, no test of strength or knowledge. Only emotion, only truth. Tell us, Syra said, why you stay. Holt looked at Laura, at Kira, at Nare, at Syra. I stayed because I wanted to understand, he said. I wanted to know what made your people so strong, so proud. He took a breath. But I stayed longer because I found something here. What? Laura asked softly. Holt met her eyes. I found people who challenged me, who taught me, who made me want to be better. He looked at Kira. You showed me strength isn't just power, it's control. He looked at Nare. You taught me that wisdom comes from listening, not just speaking. He looked at Laura. And you reminded me that sometimes the most important battles aren't fought with fists, silence. Then Laura stepped forward. She reached out and placed her hand in his. It is done, Syra said. The flames burned brighter. The crowd erupted into cheers. Derek Holt had passed the trial of the 3 flames. He was no longer just a stranger, he was now one of them. The celebration lasted through the night. Bonfires burned high, lighting up the storm-dark sky. Warriors danced, children laughed, and the elders sang old songs of honor and unity. Derek Holt sat near the fire with Kira, Nare, and Laura, each beside him but not clinging, watching, listening, thinking. He had passed the trial of the 3 flames. That meant he was now seen as a true friend of Virelia. But it did not mean he had made a choice. That still belonged to him and to them. The next morning, Matriarch Syra called for silence in the village square. The people gathered, waiting. She stood tall before Holt. You have proven your strength, she said. Your wisdom, your heart. You are no longer just a stranger who saved a life. Holt nodded. I'm glad I could earn your respect. Syra stepped closer. Now you must decide. Will you take my daughters as your wives? Or will you leave this land behind? A heavy silence fell. All eyes were on Holt. He looked at Kira first. She stood with her arms crossed, proud and strong. Her silver eyes searched his face, not begging, not demanding, just watching. Then Nare, always calm, always thoughtful. She had debated with him, challenged him, tested his mind. Now she waited, ready to accept whatever he chose, and finally Laura. She gave him a small smile. Not one of pressure, but of peace. I don't want to make a promise I can't keep, Holt said finally. Kira frowned. You fear breaking your word? Yes, he admitted. Because I know what it means to you. Nare tilted her head. Then tell us what you truly feel. Holt took a deep breath. I came here broken, he said. Crashed, lost, alone. I didn't expect to survive. And I certainly didn't expect to find this. He looked around at the people, the land, the sky. I've fought wars. I've seen death. I've done things I'm not proud of. But here I remembered something I almost forgot. What? Laura asked gently. That being human isn't about power or strength, Holt said. It's about choice, about caring, about knowing when to stay and when to let go. There was a pause. Then he looked at each daughter again. I won't pretend I don't care for all of you, he said. But I can't marry you all. That wouldn't be fair to any of us. Kira's jaw tightened. Then you reject us. No, Holt said firmly. I reject the idea that this is the only way to honor what we've built. Syra narrowed her eyes. Explain. Holt turned to her. You offered me your daughters because you believed it was the highest form of gratitude. But maybe there's another way. And what way is that? Nare asked. To give them a choice, Holt said. Silence. That word hung in the air like thunder before a storm. Syra's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes shifted. You would deny the bond of blood and duty? She asked. No. Holt said. I would honor it by letting them choose their own path. Kira stepped forward. You think we do not already know our path? I think you've been told what it is, Holt replied. Not given the chance to decide. Laura smiled softly. Maybe he's right. More murmurs spread through the crowd. Then Syra raised her hand. Enough, she said. This man has changed much. Perhaps he can change more. She looked at her daughters. My daughters, she said. You have heard the words of this man. Now speak your own. One by one they did. Kira spoke first. I am a warrior, she said. I fight for my people. I serve my clan. But I also see that strength comes in many forms. She looked at Holt. I once thought you weak for not fighting back. Now I see that your strength was different. Maybe. I want to learn from it. I want to join the conquered, she declared, to fight for something bigger than myself. Gasps spread through the crowd. Nare followed. I was born to speak for my people, she said, to carry our voice beyond these lands. She looked at Holt. You taught me that understanding is greater than conquest, that diplomacy is not weakness. I will be an ambassador, she said, between Virelia and Earth. More murmurs. Then, Laura. I study life, she said simply. Plants, animals, people. She smiled at Holt. I want to understand humans, your world, your ways. I want to go with you, she said. The crowd went silent. 3 choices, 3 futures, 3 paths walking away from tradition, not in rejection, but in evolution. Syra looked at her daughters. Then she looked at Holt. You have done what no man before you could, she said. You did not take what was offered. You gave them something better. What? Holt asked. Freedom. She stepped forward and placed a hand on his shoulder. You may leave this place, she said, with Laura. But know this, Virelia will remember you, and so will we. Holt bowed his head. Thank you, he said. As the sun rose over the hills, the village watched as Holt and Laura prepared to leave. Kira and Nare would depart soon too. On new paths of their own choosing, the world had changed, and for the first time in generations, so had Virelia. On the storm-racked world of Virelia, things began to change. Not all at once, not without struggle, but they changed. The trial of the 3 flames became more than just a legend. It became a symbol, a reminder that strength was not only in battle but in choice. That wisdom was not only in tradition but in growth. And that love was not only in bond, but in freedom. Statues were built in the village square, not of kings or conquerors, but of Commander Derek Holt. He was not remembered as a warrior, nor a ruler, but as a teacher, a friend, a man who came when the storms raged and left behind peace. Children grew up hearing stories of the human who walked among them, who fought not with weapons, but with respect, who challenged their ways not with force but with thought, and most importantly, he gave 3 daughters the power to choose their own futures. On Earth, life continued as it always had, but the arrival of Kira and Nare brought new voices to the Terran conquered. Kira trained with Earth's elite forces, quickly gaining a reputation for her unmatched combat skills and unshakable discipline. She became known across the colonies as the Virelian Blade, a protector of peace, a soldier of honor. She did not forget where she came from. Nare took a different path. She became a diplomat, representing Veralia on the Galactic Council. With her sharp mind and deep understanding of both worlds, she helped forge a formal alliance between Earth and Veralia, a first in centuries. Her speeches were legendary. "We are not defined by our past," she once said before the council, "but by the futures we dare to build, together." And then there was Laura. She stayed with Holt. Together, they traveled across Earth, studying its forests, oceans, and cities. She brought knowledge of Verelia's unique biology to human science, helping develop new medicines, crops, and even methods of surviving extreme weather. She also helped Holt heal, because even heroes carry wounds no one sees. One day, years later, a new ship landed on Verelia. It bore the flag of the Conquered Verelia Coalition, a joint effort between two worlds that had once been strangers. From the ramp stepped Commander Derek Holt, now older, now wiser. Beside him stood Laura, and holding her hand, a child, a boy, with silver eyes like his grandmother. The crowd gathered in silence. Then someone cheered, then another. Soon the whole village roared with joy. A new generation had returned, a new future had begun. Inside the matriarch's hall, Holt met with Syra one last time. She looked at him with pride in her eyes. "You changed us," she said simply. Holt smiled. "You changed me too." Syra looked at the boy. "He has your eyes, but my fire." Holt nodded. "I hope he uses it well." Syra placed a hand on Holt's shoulder. "You gave my daughters a choice. Now I give you this. Verelia is your home, always." Holt bowed his head. "Thank you, matriarch." "Call me Syra," she said. "You have earned it." Later that evening, under the stars, Holt stood on the hill where he once watched the storm. Laura joined him. "You're quiet tonight," she said. "I was just thinking," he replied. "About what?" "The crash, the fire, the trial." He looked at her. "About how I never planned any of this." Laura smiled. "Sometimes the best things happen when we stop planning." Holt chuckled. "You're right." He looked out over the village below. Lights flickered in the homes. Children ran through the streets. Warriors trained. Elders told stories. Life went on, stronger than before, because of choices made, because of hearts opened, because of a human who saved a life, and in return, found a home.